Welcome to Tech Simplified. I'm continuing the Moving in Tech podcast, and I know you're going to be delighted. We have Ashleigh Respicio, Director of Partner Success Operations at Playwire. Ashley is an expert in navigating the delicate balance between automation and human interaction to elevate customer experiences in the tech industry. With a rich background in digital strategy and project management, her leadership drives innovation, anticipates customer needs, and setting new benchmarks realm of customer success. That's not even the most of it. You got to hear her story and how she get here. The work that she did to get to where she is now is truly amazing. And can't wait to share that story with you. So, Ashleigh, I will not steal your thunder anymore. Thank you for joining. Thank you for all you do in the community. And thank you for just being amazing.
Thank you, Sly. I'm excited to be here and talk with you.
Likewise. So let's get this started and let's really share your background and your journey, your educational path, because it's not traditional, but it's
Mhm.
pretty cool. And if you're someone who's listening to this and you're still unsure if what you want to do, I think, actually, let me change that from thing. I know you listen to her story, it's going to excite you and make you get that spark to get started today.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start all the way from the beginning, graduating high school. My path is not traditional. I've done a lot of different things. I have jumped around a lot, but when I was a senior in high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Choosing a college was overwhelming. Yeah, I was overwhelmed with the entire process. I didn't have that vision of what I wanted to be necessarily when I grew up at that time. It had changed a lot since I was younger, but when it came down to it, I was frozen in deciding. So I ended up doing volunteer work for 6 months in Ghana, and that just helped me to get a different perspective of the world. I grew up in Vermont, so super small town, graduating class of 36. So I needed to expand my horizons and just experience the world. So I did that for 6 months, did volunteer work, and realized that I wasn't quite ready to go to school. So I had done a senior project on massage therapy. That was my senior project. And I decided I moved to Florida and I went to school for massage therapy. So that really was this foundation of that I can pull from today, even that customer success. I learned how to work with people on a very intimate level, doing massage and understanding not only how to have a conversation with someone to make them comfortable and make them feel trust me really, but also to understand body language and to understand when people were uncomfortable or stressed and things like that. Today, where I'm working with my team and I can really, even over Zoom, because I work in a remote workplace, where I can really understand if they might be having an issue where it's more body language than the spoken words. And just pulling from that today, there's so many things that we can do in our lives. It doesn't have to be a traditional path, a one road trajectory to be able to pull skills into a more corporate setting. So going back to, I ended up deciding to go to school. So I moved to Pennsylvania, went to Drexel University, but I didn't finish. So I actually I have done about probably of 5 years of college education without a degree on the wall. So I never did actually finish my degree, but I went for finance. I landed a really great internship at BlackRock. So I started to get a taste of what the the corporate world was like and interacting with a very male dominant industry. I worked with all men in my internship, but it was a great experience because I learned how to interact differently within a whole different industry, dealing with large amounts of money, and what that looked like. Going to dinners with clients and just getting a whole taste of a whole nother world. So fast forward, I ended up leaving school to have my son. I have 3 boys, and I did the mom thing, and I really enjoyed it, but I really realized that I like to have my career. I wanted my career. I also in the meantime, throughout in Florida, got my Pilates certification. So I opened a Pilates studio there. So again, learning how to build a business, interact with customers and clients, and learned how to grow and market. So that's where I got my start with marketing and a little bit with the digital and building our website for the studio. So as you can see, lots of like bullet points all around that don't really feel like they connect, but taking bits from every space, every experience, they all start to come together into building this really dynamic career, I would say, where I am today. With a Pilates studio, I loved it. I love movement. Again, it's really understanding and learning to connect with people physically and also through verbally because you have to give a lot of instruction, make sure it's very clear, and at the same time, making them feel comfortable. So I had my studio for about 3 years. And what I found was I loved teaching, but I really loved the website and building the website. And I started to get into how the website worked, the technology, and building from there. So a lot of my career was around raising my family at that time. My husband and I ended up moving to New York City with our boys, so I sold the studio. But I still kept on with the technology side. I got into blogging. I learned how to build websites and blogs and decided that I think that it's something that I want to do. I want to explore this more. I want to get into the tech side of things. So I started going to women tech meetups and coding meetups. And from there, learned how to code. So I joined Girl Develop It. We were back in Philly at the time, which is a amazing organization to help women learn how to code. So I did that for about 6 months. It was just a weekly meetup. We live in the suburbs, so I would take the train, the commuter train into the city in the evenings after my husband was done work and spent 2 or 3 hours there learning how to code. Eventually, I applied for a fellowship within the program. So I worked a little bit more and I was accepted and I worked a little more project based. So we were focusing on transportation in Philly and how to make that easier through developing applications. And then I just started to start to work with friends that needed help on their websites and different volunteer organizations that needed help on their websites. And little by little, my skill grew. I started to find a little bit more of my niche that I wanted to work on or work in. And I landed a full-time role actually as a website designer for a marketing agency. And from there, just progressed becoming a web strategist and working very closely with clients and pulling all of those aspects from that, like customer, the customer interactions, how to work with clients and make them feel that they're the most important thing that I'm focused on at that time, and that's really helped me throughout working with customers. So over a few different iterations of working for different companies, I got my role at Playwire about a year and a half ago. And yeah, and it's a very roundabout way to get to where I am. But I think it's really important to be able to share that you don't have to follow a traditional path in order to really build a fulfilling career over time.
Oh man, that was great. You dropped so many gems in there. One thing, I like to talk about transferable skills. Like you
Mhm.
transferred so many skills from your Pilates, a little bit of schooling, from taking risks, learning. Kids probably taught you things. So many things along the way that you leverage to where you are now. And then adversity. You had adversity your whole time. You're like, man, I don't know where I want to go. I'm gonna try this. You got an
Mhm.
appetite for adventure, I could tell. You tried it, see, I like that. And you kept pivoting and not stopping. You kept that momentum going. And then I even saw the ability to start becoming a beginner. You became a beginner multiple
Yeah.
times. And you can tell that you just fell in love with enjoying it. And I think a lot of time in the beginning, I know I'm trying to switch into a more data and AI background. My background, more security, data infrastructure, virtualization. So learning the fabrics and learning how to, I knew how to do HTML and like CSS back in the
Mhm.
day, but that's a long time ago. I'm not good anymore. So now going back, learning Python and relearning these things and doing math I haven't seen in a while is intimidating. But again, I had to tell myself I got to fall in love with being a beginner. And it's okay. It's okay for me to ask questions because
Absolutely.
everyone knows I'm not a coder. So when I ask my buddies who can code, they're like, all right, go here and learn this. Use ChatGPT, use this, use that. You can use more tools to learn, just practice it. You got a website, start, which allows you to go in there and code a little bit, try to
Yep.
code,
Mhm.
gotta break it. Use it. And use the tools you sell at Microsoft. Make an Azure website, probably cheaper than what. Just got to maintain it and secure it. So it just depends on what you want to do. So again, I saw that you fell in love with learning and to get you where you are. And you can just tell your curiosity kept you going. But this is great. And I think this is something I like to talk about. I like to call the always be learning mindset, right? People ask me, how do I get here? Again, it's just the curiosity to learn. Like I always realized that my parents at a young age told me to invest in learning. They didn't have the opportunity to do it. So they was gonna do everything for us, my brother, myself, and my sister to go to school. And all of us graduated, at least associates or higher.
Yep.
And then learning doesn't stop after school. I think I probably learned way more now than I had when I was in college. I was playing too much Madden and video games, right? At that time. But again, I think you definitely embody the always be learning mindset. So you touched on this, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. What motivated you to enter the tech industry and how did you get started? You talked about it. But
Mhm.
now that you went through that training, you did that internship fellowship,
Mhm.
then now how did you turn it into where you are today? Like, how did you go from there where
Mhm.
you are today? Because one thing I'm finding that a lot of the people that I help get into tech right now, the market is tough from technology in terms of skilling. So
Yeah.
what my advice is like before you could be like 70% of the way, but it was an employees market. That don't
Mhm.
work the same when it's an employer market. If
Mhm.
they can get 110% out of the person coming in, that's what they're gonna get. If they can get that. How did you go about making that switch? Like how did you started building those skills? I saw you, but how do
Mhm.
you make that switch?
Yeah, I think that what you were saying before, just having curiosity and that beginner's mindset for everything is huge. The willingness to do things for free. For me, I think that there are differing opinions around that, which for me it worked for me essentially to offer my skill set in order to grow. So that not only helped to grow and expand my skill set and get better, but it also helped to build my network. And I think that's really important is being able to build your network, which has helped me tremendously. I really don't necessarily think I'd be where I am without building a strong network and showing up every day, being accountable and being curious. Those are primarily what has moved me into the position that I'm in now. Taking opportunities, I took some opportunities on a contract basis,
Yeah.
and that also helped a lot. Like that, a lot of smaller, or it doesn't mean when you're first starting, you don't have to, doesn't mean you have to get into the Google or the Microsofts or the big corporates. There's so many smaller organizations that need skill sets, that those tech skill sets, and they have a harder time finding employees just because we've got the bigger corporations that can offer more. But for somebody just getting in and being able to offer your skill set, maybe on a contract or freelance basis, is a really great way to start and to get into the industry because you're not only um, building your skill set and your network, but you're also helping an organization out. Like you feel like you're a part of something that's growing. And that was a big motivator for me too. I always purpose is really is something that motivates me. I
Yeah.
want to feel like I have purpose, that am contributing. For me to start in those smaller organizations, whether it be nonprofit, and then moving into smaller companies that are growing, a startup, let's say, that motivated me to keep going and keep learning because I wanted to help out. I wanted to be a part of this thing that they were building.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was able to move into larger organizations through networking. But also, I had a more skilled based resume to be able
Right.
to back that up.
Yeah, you built your brand. You
Yeah,
built your worth.
exactly.
And I think you say something there that I think people get frustrated when I say you got to work for free sometimes. Right?
Mhm.
And they look, we're going to tell, oh, you ranked number 4. I'm like, yeah, but I put all my money in. I put the money up front, the time, the energy, building clout. Right now
Mhm.
that companies reach out to me, publishers reach out to me now, but it took time.
Yeah.
Right, it took time to get here, even to get to Microsoft. Oh, it must be nice to work from home. I'm like, it is nice to work from home. But I started off in tech support. I
Yes.
had to go ask for permission to use the bathroom. That was crazy. And it took a long time to get here. And then,
Yeah.
and to stay here is even harder. You see how many layoffs these companies
Mhm.
at, right? You got to work. And when you work and you work with people who are really good, right? So how do you get a little bit better? I think
Mhm.
a lot of things I did on my side. I started Tech Simplified. Why? I wanted to learn how to scale myself. When I was doing one of my first engineering roles, I was talking about a lot of 100 level stuff. And I'm like, man, why do I have to keep talking about this, man? Why don't I just have a video and that they could go watch and then I could
Right.
work on other things? And then that turned out, that one video, it was horrible. It's still on my channel now. And I look at the quality, production, it was absolutely horrendous. But it worked. It
Yeah.
got attention from he was the VP of engineering at the company because I was like contracted. And the
Yeah.
VP of the company, he was
Contracting.
like, man, I like your marketing, man. Did you come over here? No, and I
Yeah.
sent him a job role. No one does that. I was like, you know what? I should come over here. I wrote this job role, compared it to his competitor. It's like a technology advantage role. And I didn't get the role. But he was
Mhm.
like, man, no one ever sent me a job that they wanted. I wrote a role that only I could do. And
Mhm.
I knew that there's no way no one beat me at this role. Didn't get it. 6 months later, there was a technical product marketing manager. I never knew what that meant. I never heard of that. I was just
Right.
marketing and IT. I just did it because I like to talk. I'm good with people, and I'm good at tech. So that's why I didn't know nothing about a product. If I knew that existed, I would have
Mm.
started there. And sales engineering, those are the 2 things that I found that I like those areas, at least when I started my career.
Right.
And then off to the races, but I had to pay for this camera. I have no money. I had to buy
Mhm.
the camera. I had to pay for the mics. Like it upgraded over time. I had
Yeah.
to learn editing software. I had to learn marketing. Like I'm even reading a book, How to Sell. I had to change my website. I think I talked to you earlier.
Mhm.
I'm
Yep.
reading it from a tech and not from the person who's reading it to get something from it, right? You gotta change and constantly change it. So I love that you say that because I often say one of my friends came to me and said, "Hey, I want to transition to tech." I'm like, "It's not gonna be easy. I don't care
Mhm.
what you've been saying. These 6 months, you don't get $100,000, maybe before when an employee, and then not right now."
Mhm.
Right? People, you don't get rejected a lot. So I sent them my spreadsheet when I came out of college and I got 75 no's. It was like insane. Like, am I this bad? A lot of things I needed to fix was generic and all those things, but I got that one yes. And then I
Right.
got started there and I went from there and I told them, like, yo, I'm Tech Simplified. It's only me. Come over and help me. I need someone to help me with content. I need someone to
Mhm.
help me with, let me be my testimony. I'm going to get you into tech. And if I can do that, let's replicate it. Right. I know it's free, but I'm going to give you, I got referrals. I got a network. I give you free resources. I used to write resumes, cover letters. I'll give you all of that. I just need your time. And he did it. And now he got his certifications and everything. I told him, like, hey, $100 certification, I'll get you. Let's get these trainings, get these stuff done. I can help you grow in those type of areas, right? So if anyone out there, data engineers, website people, call me. I would love to get some more interns and we could figure out a way, or even contractors, right, to boost it and to help grow it. So I think you said something that was pretty great there. And this you talked about this, but I think I already know let me not assume. What were the biggest challenges you face as a newcomer in tech? How do you overcome them? And I think one of them has to be building that network. And I really want you to dive into that because I find that was my biggest thing. My
Mhm.
parents didn't go to college. They're not
Mhm.
even from America. So I had no one to call. I'm calling my uncles. They're like, I don't know. We didn't go to college, buddy. No, you got to figure this out on your own.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing kids coming out of school. Hey, dad got me a job here, or my cousin over there. I did a couple of internships over here, and that's some things I could have done too that I didn't. That's shame on
Mhm.
me, right, at the time. But again, building that network into where I am now that I can call someone and get a role pretty quickly now.
Yeah, for me, it was really, I think it's important to look within your industry for when you're looking for an internship. But I think that a lot of people forget about their other networks. For me, I was really into running.
Yeah,
So I started helping out my running club,
yeah,
their websites. There's a lot of areas that in your life that you can tap into and relationships that you can nurture in order to still reach your goal, right? It's really just looking beyond the traditional search for internships. It's looking at maybe you're part of a church, helping them out with their website or building an app for a school organization. If you're a parent like me wanting to get into tech, then maybe it is for your child's sports team. Things like that where you can start to just say, "Hey, I'm wanting to learn this skill, expand on this skill, and I'd love to build this thing for you." And I think that's really where it starts because from that visibility, there's lots of people that you wouldn't necessarily know have opportunities for you that would then say, "Hey, I really liked what you did for that website that you built. I noticed that you were doing this app or whatever for the group. My company needs something similar. Are you looking for additional work?" That's how it worked for
yeah.
me. And it is very intimidating in the beginning to think like when you're standing in that spot of, I want to go in this direction, I have no idea how to get there. Just start building things, letting people know that you're building things, and your network and people around you are willing to help. More so than not, people want to see you succeed and they're going to offer opportunities. So I tend to be, I am very much an optimist. So I do think genuinely just putting it out there and offering assistance
Yeah.
is huge in really building a network rather than sometimes going to a larger corporation. It's challenging. You've got more competition. Start where maybe the pond's a little bit smaller.
Correct. I think you said a lot of great gems again, right? I went to a company, a distributor, a tech distributor. No one knows those things are, right? They're like,
Mhm.
what is that? Even when I share people now, like, why would I go there? I'm like, because usually most people don't even notice exist. That's competition. That's resumes you got to go through. You get more opportunity because there's probably not as many skilled talent there like you have in here. And then when you get to these large corporations, it is very specific on what they want you to do.
Mhm.
You need to have a specific skill set where if you go to a smaller company or a company without as much marketing or branding, maybe, right? Or just newer, right? You might be able to take on more responsibility. So I think that's cool. And if you're in college, you might say, how does this apply to me? When I was in college, I joined the American Marketing Association. And when I joined, they didn't have a website. I'm like, how are we the marketing association without a website? We don't know how to make one. I'm like, I'm in IT. I can make one.
Yeah.
I started looking around. I'm like, there was a website. There's no one activated. Someone already coded it. Like, it's pretty nice. I just updated, add some pictures on there, changed stuff around. And then that would be used probably 4 or 5 years after I left, right? So I got one of my other buddies who was a computer science major because I was just figuring it out. He did it. And then it was already done. And then I was able to solve a problem. I got the VP of marketing on my resume at the time.
Yep.
And when I got my first interview, they didn't even talk about my school. They talked
Mhm.
about what did you learn as a VP of marketing. When I told them that, man, that's cool. You solved the problem again. So those things that we think are trivial, pretty good. Like other buddy, the one I talked about, he started working at his church, helping them
Mhm.
with their
Yep.
tech, helping them with these things here. Like my older brother started a wine bar in Brooklyn. Check it out if anyone's there. If you're into fancy wine, it's called the Franklin Wine Bar in Brooklyn, New York. I help him with his domains, right? I
Yep.
did those. I helped him with the website. I helped him with setting up his Microsoft 365 and all those things. He didn't ask me. I just said, hey, I got this skill. Can I use it? And then helps me in day to day. So I think definitely the areas and then what happened from that, I get other opportunities all
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
right. I get opportunities to speak. I get opportunities to interview. I get opportunities just to learn. Sometime one of my friends who owns a lot of houses. I want to own more houses and more rental properties. I'm like, "Well, hey, what you need? Like, you don't need to pay me. I'm just coming over there to learn. Can I come over there and learn? I got these skills here. I created my own I found a property management tool that I use,
Yeah.
automated everything. And you can use this. And it's really good to get all your stuff. I showed him how to set it up and everything. And he gave me free game on how to build that part of it while you're at work to
Yeah.
maximize your income. So again,
Absolutely.
it's transferable to other areas. So you did this really well. What advice would you give someone transitioning into tech from a non-technical background? You talked about it.
Yeah. I would definitely say that we have so many resources now.
Yep.
We online, we can really my 16-year-old son this summer just taught himself how to build an app just using YouTube and things like that. So there's so many resources we have available to us for free.
Yep.
So I would say start there. Just be curious, right? If you want to get into tech. One thing that I wanted to go back to that you had said just regarding all of these opportunities, that the small opportunities that you can take on when you're just starting out, is that's a really good time to hone your skill set and really the area that you want to go into. So if you're just starting and you think that it might be a direction you want to go into, try a few things. Maybe learn how to code in one language and then maybe try to build something. Figure out where you one just really thrive and where you have the most interest in. What are you really passionate about in that one area? And it might change over time, but find that one kind of niche area that you're very interested in and go from there. Because I do think that being a generalist is great, and there's a lot of opportunity there. I am more of a generalist, but I also think that specializing in one small thing in the beginning is really helpful, just to have focus and to be able to one go to meetups. I still think meetups are really important. The in person, building your network, and also honing that skill set, and then from there, that's really for me. I think that was the pivotal part of my journey that really helped with growing and moving to where I am today in my role, is really putting myself out there, building a network. And I'm an introvert. So it's nerve-wracking, but it also, if you find that skill set that really works for you and you want to pursue, it's easier because you have that singular thing you can talk about with the network, with the individuals, and then build from there. Yeah, I think that's probably for me, the most important thing that I would recommend anyone wanting to go into tech is to really put yourself out there and focus.
And I think you talk a lot. I think that's really great. Is yourself. I think as an introvert, I think you to me is a superpower because most people like to talk about themselves. So you can
Right.
ask a real good question and be quiet. You're like, man, I wanted to be quiet anyway. Opposite problem. I talk too much. So then I used to run into another thing like, oh, they walked away again. I did it again. Gotta stop talking, right? I'm coming in with the questions, even doing this interview. I tell myself before I got in here, make sure not to overtalk you.
Right,
Learn
right.
yourself. But I found like what you said is in the beginning, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be the best coder there is. I start coding. I'm like, I talk too much again. I forgot to put my notes in there. Oh man, the application crashed. Why did it crash?
Mhm.
Teacher like, go back to your notes section. I'm like, I didn't know. The ADD kicked in something. Like, what happened, man? Man, I can figure this out, but I don't think I'm gonna be that great at this. I could be okay. I think I need to know it to understand it, but I don't think someone would pay me to do this.
Mhm.
Maybe I could probably get through it and I could have figured it out. But then even when I tried to go in, it was like dreadful going there. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is for me. And then I took my marketing class. Oh, this is fun. Then I took an
Mhm.
IT class with network, and then I found out I was reading a book. I read it 3 times. This telecommunication book. I'm like, hold on, we might be honest. I booked more than one time than I had to. I'm reading it, and then I remember when I was a kid, when I first figured out Wi-Fi, I literally took my neighbor's Wi-Fi, figured out, went inside their settings, and wasn't probably supposed to do this, probably get in trouble for it. I didn't do
Right.
anything illegal. I was trying to learn the settings because we didn't have one.
Yeah.
Finally, I told my mom, like, all right, I saved up some money. She gave me some money. I bought my first router. Then my brother had a router. And then I started learning the settings. I started configuring it. I ended up sending like a packet sniffer just to figure out what that does. And I never thought I could make any money with that. So I never thought about anything. So fast forward when I found my networking class again, I'm like, man, this is fun. This is something I want to do. Then
Mhm.
fast forward, getting out of college, I took a network engineering job. So I'm like, man, this is gonna be as an internship, free, unpaid.
Yeah.
Went in the data center. I'm like, where the people at? The servers here all day? I'm rebooting. It's only so many servers you can reboot. I'm talking about kernels. We doing like virtualization. I'm like, this is boring. Went upstairs and I was hanging out with the help desk people, just talking to them. I'm like, man, this is great. Watching the beat, man. I'm solving problems, helping people. And lo and behold, man, I switched in tech support. And that's like a demotion, people like to say. For me,
Mhm.
you couldn't beat me at it, right? I love to do. Then I found pre-sales and long story short, then I kept doing it. But again, it's cool to figure out where you want to be in tech. Like I tell my buddies, one of my guys, like, I'm an art major. I'm like, dude, I'm like, you art and history. You spend hours reading through documentation. You would be a great engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
You love details. Everything in your life needs to have order and process. I'm
Mhm.
not that person, right? Wife is, I'm not, right? Dude, I think you'd be a way better engineer than me. You'll be an implementation engineer
Yeah.
because you need to understand that. You can be a coder. You can be a data analyst. I mean, a data analyst. Whatever you want to do. Then when he started doing that, he's like, yeah, I think this is for me. I'm like, dude, I know. You the job and I think it was like selling bulletproof glass. I didn't even know that was the thing, like for the military. I'm like, he would tell me all the levels of the chemicals in there to make the glass. I'm like, I don't want to know that. You know,
Right, yeah.
like, dude, how do you know that? Like, how much time? I'm like, dude, why do you think you can't do tech? That's exactly what my team does.
Mhm.
Dude, just take the class out and put it with a technology, right? And you'll be good, right? But again,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes some time for you to get that courage to get there. And but I love what you said. So I think
Yeah. I think
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say you highlighted a really great point that is very important. It was important in my life as well, and that's to be okay with changing direction. To say this isn't actually, you know what, this isn't working for me. Let me try this
Yep,
other thing. And to be okay with stopping and moving on and quitting. I think there's a lot of power in being able to do that and to pivot. So sometimes there's been times in my life where I've stayed doing some things too long,
yep,
longer than I should have. But I think it's really important to also say and know it's okay to stop in the path that you thought would work and to try a new one.
yep,
I just with especially with tech, there's like you said, there's so many different pathways
yep,
in the industry and try one out. And if that's not quite it, you are really interested in the industry and you want to be here, then try another. I think it's really important to just eh, be okay with quitting sometimes.
and I think that's right. I echo that again. I became a director of product marketing. Man, I climbed the ladder. I'm director.
Mhm,
I switched to a startup. I had my daughter there. I didn't realize how much my
mhm.
focus would change. Like work was everything, my wife and my work. And then when I had my daughter, it just changed. I want to spend more
Yeah.
time. But when you go to a startup, you don't get time. You lose time. There's no PTO. They
Mhm.
expect you to work all the time. But I'm doing the work. I'm not liking it. Absolutely hate it. It's to the point, painful, wasn't going the way I thought it was. But I never quit. That's
Mhm.
like the little engine that could. I'm always figuring it out. And I'm like, I don't like this role. Then my manager came, he could tell, like, Sly, I don't think you like this job. Like, I know you're good because that's why we hired you. I don't think this is the right fit for you. So I don't know if he's just saying that he's gonna fire me, it probably sound like it, and he didn't wanna go direct at it. So
Mhm.
then I went home and I remember I was reading a book with my daughter. It was called, what was it? I can't remember that. Oh, Put Me in the Zoo. That was an
Mm.
old book, and it talks about, "See what I can do, put me in the zoo." And he's doing all these tricks and everything he like, and then the end, end of the story, he didn't belong in a zoo. He belonged in a circus, right?
Mhm.
Because he was showing his talent somewhere else. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna hand in my resignation. I'm quit. 'Cause I want to spend more time. And I'm going back to the old company I used to work at, the distributor, learn Microsoft, and that's why I'm here today, right? That one pivot. And then for me now, even I wanted to be a teacher. Fun fact about myself, I love educating people. So I ended up creating YouTube. I
Yep.
get to teach people. I get that component because sometimes in my job, I don't get to do it enough. That's why I do this to get I guess my fix. I like
Yeah, sure.
helping people. It's something I just love to do. And then I started Women in Tech. Love my daughter, love my wife, my mom, and my women in my life has shaped the way. How can I give back? Again, sharing stories through teaching.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you find a way to get to where you're supposed to be. And now I get to help people at a larger scale. Right now, I realize now I want to be more of a owner or a
Hmm.
leader. And what does that mean? Influence others without them having to do it. How can I
Yeah.
help them share my vision? So that's what I'm doing now. Never would have thought it. This is not what
Yeah.
something I want to do sometimes. Am I the right person doing this? And then I see people come to me, yes, I like me. You like what you're doing. I'm building that out. So
Yeah.
now we get into the end. I could talk to you all day. I could tell, right?
Yeah.
We're having a great conversation. We got 3 questions. They're going to be quick questions. One key tagline is always be learning. So I like to ask
Mhm.
the people I interview is how do you keep your skills up to date and what resources do you recommend for ongoing learning?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time online. So I would say just researching online, different podcasts, industry articles. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And also just following other people, talking with other people within the industry
Yeah.
that you've connected with is really a great way to hear another perspective. How did just understanding processes of how someone else approaches it, because there's always something you can take from that to improve your own process or how you're doing things. So yeah, I think that human connection is really important. Also online, resources online, but I do
Yeah.
think there's a lot of importance in that.
Yeah, definitely. I think just going through these interviews I had, I probably learned more than I
Hmm.
haven't in the hundreds of books I read, right?
Yeah.
Just because you can fast line it. Just you can
Hmm.
say, hey, Sly, I did that. That don't work, but this works. You should try this. And
Yes.
that's what you learn along the way. So if you out there listening, get on LinkedIn. If you don't got a profile, create one. It's a whole bunch of training online. I'm actually going to come out with a training to show you how to do that. And I have one goal for you. Reach out to someone new. Go follow them. Someone in a tech field that you like. Just look at security. Type in security in Microsoft, security in Playwire, security in any company that you find interesting. You're going to find a person. Click the follow button now with LinkedIn, which is pretty cool. You don't got to connect with
Yes.
them. Follow them. Look at their posts. Comment. Just comment one time. Say,
Yes.
hey, this is pretty interesting. Where can I go learn more? And start following them and watching them and learning, asking questions, being engaged. Because when you be engaged long enough, they're gonna know, oh, Sly, you can comment on my post. Hey, I'm gonna be here. I know you're in Buffalo. You want to meet up? Because they feel like you know them, right? This is gonna
Right.
open doors. You're gonna learn. Or if that doesn't happen, the light's gonna go on. This is what I want to do. Or you could say, hey, Sly, I can help you with this. You've been doing this. I don't really work. Follow me yourself. I think this is one thing you can have. That value add will change your network, your career, your knowledge base. And again, in addition to using online resources, come on, everyone, use ChatGPT, throw it in there. I tell all about it. Like, I got a
Yeah.
video on how to be a cloud coach. Type it in there. It will give you the start. And then you can then go see real people who doing it, ask them those questions to see if it's really true. If you
Yeah.
know something is correct, don't take what ChatGPT says or any Gen AI tool. Go research it. Go make sure it's right. You don't know what it is. I don't take it. I don't take information I don't really know because how do I know if it's right when I'm putting it out there, right? So take that time, do that extra homework. But you got so many tools. But the main thing you got to showcase to someone that you want their time is that you had the curiosity to go fail and learn on your own. Tell them what you already done. You're
Hmm.
coming to them for this particular purpose, and that will save you a lot because I never used to do that. And then the
Yeah.
person like, did you do a simple Google search? And that shuts down that conversation. Now you got to rebuild up that's the equity in that person.
Yes.
So that's something. So right into
Yeah.
this. Oh, do you have something to add up to that?
No, I was just one thing with that, with just reaching out, continue to do it because the person that you first reach out to may not respond. Keep trying. Don't give up after one time. I think that's really important to
Yep.
just keep trying, keep reaching out, keep expanding your
Yeah.
network.
And try different ways too.
Yeah.
Let's say, don't reach out. Can you help me get a job? No, I got kids.
Yeah.
No, I got other things I'm doing. No, I don't. Why? Like, I would love to help you, but why should I help you? What did you do?
Exactly.
What do you need? What type of job? Do you need a person? I can't get you the job because I don't got a P&L. I do not own a profit and loss statement. I don't hire anybody. I can
Right.
refer you to a job. I get you a job at Tech Simplified. We can help there, right? But if you ask me for Microsoft, you don't own a P&L. I can't
Yeah.
hire, or at least not today. And anybody did, they got rules and processes. I can help refer you.
Mhm.
Make sure you structure that question. Use ChatGPT if you struggle with that, like I did. Ask it how to send that.
Yes.
So sometimes I get people all the time. Like, they didn't respond to me. And then they start either beating up themselves and like, dude, I didn't even see this, man. Like, got 2 kids, got a kid on the way. I'm doing work. I'm doing women in tech. I'm to some fun. I got projects. My mom and dad are getting older. I gotta help them. Dude, I didn't even know this was here. Just thanks for reminding me. I think that's great. And that's this we getting down. If you could
Mhm.
give one piece of advice to someone just starting out in tech, what would it be?
I not just for tech, but yeah, but
Yeah.
given the audience, yes, for tech is to be curious. That's my one piece of advice. Be curious. And yeah, I think that curiosity, we talked about this right at the beginning. Curiosity is extremely important, not only in the beginning, but throughout your entire
Right.
career and helping you grow as an individual and just within your chosen industry and path. Being curious, asking questions, doing the research, and always wanting to learn more.
Yeah. I think you're right, man. I look at my career as peaks.
Mhm.
Every time I
Yep.
get to the top of the peak, I'm like, man, whew, felt good to get here. To ask some questions. Oh, what's that over there in the horizon? It's another one I gotta learn. All right, let's do it. What tools do I need? Who I need to talk to? Answer
Yep.
questions. You start climbing, right? So I'm even reading a book like the Warren Buffett's way, and they talk about Warren Buffett always talks about what makes a great company for long term. This even makes a good person. They're never satisfied. They never rest on their laurels. They always trying to get better, right?
Right.
In certain areas, that could be personal, that can be professional, it can be spiritual, whatever you want to do. You always
Yep.
gonna be better because we can't be good at everything. It's not going to happen. So it's always an opportunity. Like today, I'll put together a bed for my son. It's
Mhm.
going to be painful for him. Someone listening to
Right.
this could do that with their eyes closed. I am not that person. So I'm gonna have to take some time and have some fun. We're gonna make it cool. I expect to get frustrated. And if I do, my father-in-law is gonna come, put it together for me. But I'm gonna give it a honest try, right?
Right.
So but that is the skill I had not spend a lot of time developing, and that's okay. So it's just something I would just put out there. Last but not least, ways our audience can follow your work and get in touch with
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty not super out there, I would say, in terms of visibility, but LinkedIn is probably the best way.
you. Okay.
Yeah, Ashleigh Respicio at LinkedIn. So that would be probably the best way to get in touch with me.
Perfect.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ashley, it was absolutely my pleasure. This exceeded the expectations that I had. And I know my audience is going to find some really great gems in this conversation we had. So if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you listen to this in your earbuds, whatever you're doing, make sure you follow the podcast, share it with a friend, connect with Ashley on
Yep.
LinkedIn and join our community and start engaging. We have free blog posts to get you into tech. I got a ton of free training on this YouTube channel. I got paid training on Tech Simplified. And just reach out and let's have a conversation. But actually, you're amazing. You're a rock star. Continue being just who you are because you're making the world a better place. Thank you again for joining. I can't wait to share what's new with you in the future on this podcast.
Mhm.
Thanks again for taking your time out and joining.
Thank you. Bye. It was really great. This conversation was a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.